Story 1. It assists medical and scientific research and translates ancient documents written in dead languages. Yes, there is an artificial intelligence bubble and it may pop soon, but that does not mean there is not a considerable amount of boring but useful work being done with it. Story 2. AlphaFold Protein Structure Database. Story 3. It speeds up many menial computer tasks. I had it create a PowerPoint from 6 pages of a Microsoft Word document. It made 60 slides in about a minute. It would have taken me hours to do the same thing. Story 4. The advances are tangible and impressive, but probably not worth the vast sum spent. To my knowledge, most businesses that have paid for artificial intelligence solutions have not seen significant savings or revenue increases. The investment largely buys future value, except in a few niche cases where it makes a difference. Story 5. It is an incredible tool for programming. There is natural skepticism because some people who do not know how to program try to generate code beyond the capability of current generation artificial intelligence models. What is being lost is that this technology is an enormous time saver for capable programmers who define problems correctly and use it within realistic bounds. I am a data analyst and I use artificial intelligence in my work to write small programs with specific goals that I can quickly verify. What would take me an hour to write is done in 15 seconds. The time-saving aspect is equivalent to moving from typewriters to word processing. Skeptics might say that writing text faster does not mean one can suddenly produce the next great novel, yet the societal benefit was greatest in small, low-stakes tasks that became much faster, such as sending an email instead of sending a letter, pointing out that artificial intelligence cannot create a fully functional and secure application is a similar, misplaced criticism. For capable programmers, it is not about doing things they could not do before. It is about doing things they already know how to do in almost no time. Story 6. A lot of bad code. This goes out to all the vibe coders out there. Story 7. It's really useful for quickly turning a large volume of boring information into bite-sized pieces and identifying points of interest. I recently had it break down parking regulations for a specific municipality. I'm a passionate layperson in multimodal municipal and regional transportation planning, and I'm looking to move, so I wanted to know what my potential destination would be like in that regard. I gave it the municipality's zoning codes in portable document format and let it work using the parameters I wanted in the breakdown. I tweaked it once or twice and then had a printable portable document format file with exactly what I wanted. It legitimately turned what would have been a couple of hours of tedious reading into an exercise that took minutes. Story 8. Remember that all new technology goes through stages. It is typically released early and improved afterward. Story 9. The thing to remember is that whatever you see these systems doing is only a fraction of what they can do behind the closed doors of the companies that develop them. To the public, they may seem to be producing silly images or answering questions incorrectly, but the companies that build them view these systems as data-gathering tools. They are collecting an unbelievable amount of data and using it to train successive, more advanced models out of public view. The public usually does not see a model until its creators are already well into developing the next version. I am not saying that artificial intelligence will fix everything or that artificial general intelligence is right around the corner. Nor will I dismiss the whole thing as a passing fad. Money is flowing into this field because many people see it as the next arms race, the next gold rush, the next big thing. We should focus less on how trivial current popular uses seem and more on the fact that a potentially near future could put powerful technology in the hands of a small number of people, enabling them to radically reshape the economy and the nature of human labor. We should be ready to address the possibility that average people could lose out when that happens. Story 10. It is being used to help detect cancer earlier than humans can. Story 11. The amounts spent are largely speculative, in the hopes of being the one that gets it to do something truly impressive. If your company manages to deploy a general artificial intelligence system that can sell a business a subscription that performs the work of office employees at half the cost, you have essentially created unlimited profit. Current achievements are notable. Visual recognition, translation, assistance with writing, and image generation are all still impressive. It is not the holy grail, but the field is generating significant value. Story 12. Let me give you one simple example. I have various drones. My latest, the Matt Rice 4T, has a graphics processing unit on board and out-of-the-box recognition of humans, cars, and boats. You can create new models, for example, to recognize cracks in pavements or hairline fractures in bridges. Or you can live stream back to your base and send the feed to the artificial intelligence system of your choice. Simple use cases include police work, such as tracking individuals of interest, which is potentially dystopian. You can train a model to survey a farm and identify diseases. You can train a model to inspect problems at a solar farm. You can inspect bridges, roads, and many other structures that would otherwise require much more manpower and that carry higher risks of human error and health and safety issues. This reduces costs. That is just mixing the capabilities of drones with artificial intelligence and some very simple use cases. It is the new industrial revolution. It followed the advent of the internet and decades of research into artificial intelligence. I studied computer science at university in 1990 and took a module in artificial intelligence. Back then, it seemed interesting but not immediately useful. In the last 3 years, we have seen massive breakthroughs. We are at the very beginning of this revolution. Not everything is chat generative pre-trained transformer. Story 13. It has sped up my coding by 5 times, maybe more. Unfortunately, they now will not hire anyone to replace the headcount we lost in the last few months. Story 14. AlphaFold mapped every protein that exists and was awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for this work. Story 15. The faster it develops, the faster it can replace jobs formerly done by humans. Take customer support. Call centers are already so heavily scripted they might as well be artificial intelligence. Make artificial intelligence good enough to hold a rudimentary, guided conversation and it can replace basically every first-level support person, handle thousands of times the call volume, and never deviate from corporate policy. All for a fraction of what it costs to pay employee wages and maintain an office. Sure, right now it is good for regurgitating what it reads and making barely passable art. But companies are not thinking about what it is good for now. They are thinking of what it will be capable of in another 5 years. Story 16. It lets me rant about my special interest, saving dozens, if not hundreds, of people from unsolicited oncology lectures. Story 17. A teacher in my family uses it to create a live avatar of himself that speaks fluently in multiple languages while recording him teaching in his native language. He can then teach several classes in different countries at the same time. Students can interact and ask questions in a shared chat where everything is translated live. No matter what language a question is asked in, everyone receives the question and answer in their native language. Story 18. Read this congressional bill and note anything that seems illegal, unconstitutional, or that would adversely affect the separation of powers, checks and balances, or civil liberties, and rank findings by risk. Then describe the worst-case scenario, the worst possible abuse of the change, assuming an executive branch intent on consolidating power for itself. I was using generative pre-trained Transformer 5. Can do this for multi-hundred-page bills in about 3 seconds. The amount of power at our fingertips is truly mind-blowing. The only limit is our imagination. Story 19. In the medical field, artificial intelligence does a decent job transcribing notes. Story 20. Write the answers to my quarterly self-review questions. Story 21. There are different kinds of artificial intelligence, which is part of the problem. People have lumped the worthless systems in with the actually useful ones in an attempt to ignore the reasons the former are inadequate. There are valuable uses for analytical artificial intelligence in processing and organizing large data sets, but generative systems, such as those used by Google and chat models based on generative pre-trained transformer architecture, have produced little of value. They do not function well as search engines or in truly creative roles. They consume resources, produce poor outputs, and tend to make life worse for many people. Story 22. It is also writing a lot of terrible code that will be very difficult to fix. Story 23. There are thousands of artificial intelligence projects you do not hear about because they are corporate trade secrets. Story 24. I think it serves certain functions we are unaware of, but as it pertains to the masses, it is another way to monetize technology. Story 25. Many research projects seemed like a waste of money at the time, and some of them were. Realistically, there is no way to know the results until you have them. Story 26. Small quality of life improvements for businesses, such as automatically sending text messages to confirm appointments several days in advance. Story 27. It has amazing potential for scientific research and for analyzing large data sets. Artificial intelligence can find correlations and relationships among thousands of variables that no person could see. It can be used for everything from analyzing patients for possible rare diseases to identifying genes that increase the likelihood of developing cancer. Story 28. I contested a parking ticket for €110 from Italy using ChatGPT. It wrote a letter in Italian citing specific vehicle codes based on the information and documentation I provided. I mailed that and copies of the supporting documents. I am not sure if it worked yet, but whether it does or not, I will not pay anything else. Story 29. Machine learning technology has real-world applications. However, the majority of applications being developed are empty boxes. They do not actually do anything. Nearly all artificial intelligence products will collapse because there are few consumer applications and most are industrial. Most people, in their day-to-day lives, have no use for artificial intelligence products. The market already reflects that. The stock market is propped up by investors pumping money into the tech industry, with few returns. Spending and consumption by citizens and industry are down across the board in the United States. Also, the idea that artificial intelligence will fund universal basic income is laughable. Artificial intelligence cannot even replace workers. At best, it can make some workers more efficient. Story 30. My wife is a college professor. All of her students are suddenly handing in papers that not only show a heightened understanding of the material, but also explore related topics and cite authors who were not covered in the class. Story 31. It has made many administrative tasks faster. I use it extensively for transcribing voice recordings. The ability to provide a recording of a call with 4 people and have it transcribe the speakers accurately and assign who said what is excellent. Story 32. Accelerated software development in a way never before possible. The output was originally sloppy, but over time it has become an outstanding tool for software development. With tools like Codex and Claude Code, I have seen productivity increase tremendously for companies that know how to use them properly. They are not perfect and sometimes flat out wrong, but with a skilled engineer they can deliver orders of magnitude improvements in productivity. Story 33. That's why it's called a bubble. The problem the global economy has is that, for the past 2 years, the majority of growth has been the artificial intelligence bubble. Estimates put it at about 17 times the size of the bubble in mortgage-backed securities and collateralized debt obligations that led to the global financial crisis, oversimplified for brevity. Right now, artificial intelligence is about 90% just a way to sell advertising, much like Google and Meta. If it does not generate real value and the bubble bursts, we are in for a recession that will make the Great Depression look like the good old days. Story 34. There is a lot going on, but not what one might initially think. For example, material science, finding new materials and analysis, pharmacy and medicine, protein folding and cancer detection, and self-learning control algorithms for complex systems such as power grids, home automation, and power generation. The list continues. This may not seem impressive at first, but in reality it will be the most significant outcome. You do not need extremely large language models. Specialized, well-trained, domain-bound models are sufficient. Story 35. Make energy prices rise, waste perfectly good water for cooling, place data centers in communities where the majority are racial minorities, and steal countless works of art and writing from creators to feed the slot machine, producing inferior imitations of human creativity. Story 36. Paying wages or salaries is about 1/3 of a company's expenses. Replacing those workers can increase profits, at least until the system collapses because there are no consumers left and everyone is unemployed. Artificial intelligence is not a bubble. It will catalyze an economic paradigm shift, which may or may not resemble scenarios from science fiction, such as The Terminator. Story 37. Hello, I am a web developer and I have used large language models to write code, to brainstorm ideas, and to summarize things. I have also trained an agent to tell people about my career experience. If you know of any open roles, please let me know. Story 38. Not the kind they keep promising, at least. The specific purpose systems are doing useful work. They help comb through scientific research data and generate related content. The general purpose systems intended to replace workers to save companies money are still in development. Story 39. Artificial intelligence is a marketing term. Several specific technologies have been lumped into capitalized labels for profit. Most of what is being touted as artificial intelligence today consists of large language models, a type of generative artificial intelligence. These systems take many inputs to produce an output. That is what chatbots and similar services do today. This broad label does not reflect the specific technologies used within individual fields. Every field will call its methods something different. Only the uninitiated or those seeking profit call all these technologies artificial intelligence. Story 40. The Google search engine alone is worth $550 billion. How much has been invested in artificial intelligence so far? Story 41. System automation. When people think of artificial intelligence, they think of ChatGPT and DALL-E. Programmers think of artificial intelligence-powered use cases for many applications that give current software new capabilities. Many of these cases might not even involve natural language at all, aside from the system prompts. Story 42. Almost every YouTube ad these days features an artificial intelligence talking head. Story 43. I got one. I am part of a community for an artificial intelligence-based 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons game website. The site lets you choose from several different artificial intelligence models to create single-player Dungeons & Dragons games. There is a multiplayer mode, but I have not used it and do not know how it works. We are more active on Discord. Right now we have an October event called Team Monsters vs. Monster Hunters. It is all run by one developer, and the only limits are current large language model limitations, your imagination, and how well you can explain it to the artificial intelligence, and the character limit, which we upgraded a couple of months ago. The site is slowly being improved. We might get it as an app before the year is out. One thing I would advise is that we occasionally get new players who think we control how the artificial intelligence works. We do not. We can give advice, but ultimately we are limited by how the artificial intelligence technology is upgraded and changed over time. Story 44. Artificial intelligence has been handling some tasks at work. It organizes data, answers specific questions, and rewrites text. In all cases, it requires a human to interact with it, review its output, and move it to the next stage. Currently, it does not operate autonomously. Story 45. It can write a resume for you to submit to another artificial intelligence system that will not allow it to be reviewed by a person. Story 46. It has ruined a few legal careers. That is broadly a social good. Story 47. My guess is that it will hasten the demise of the attention economy, and I am eagerly awaiting it. Story 48. Every large and new company uses artificial intelligence. Its influence is extensive and closely linked to business outcomes. We will never know the full scope of the impact of artificial intelligence, but it is significant. Story 49. The good stuff is happening behind the scenes in private and public companies. Palantir is the best example. Story 50. It allowed us to capture these amazing videos. Story 51. You used the term artificial intelligence too generically in this context. A search engine and a humorous image are only surface-level consumer examples of a product. Customized machine learning workflows and optimization across industries are growing rapidly. Story 52. I find automated telephone response systems a little more fluid and less painful, but I still find them very annoying. I prefer speaking with representatives, although artificial intelligence is slightly more palatable than the older systems. Story 53. Image recognition for more accurate missiles, unfortunately. Story 54. It probably accelerated global warming and wasted millions of resources that could have gone to something better. Story 55. The military uses artificial intelligence to aim its strikes. Story 56. Agentic artificial intelligence is a game changer for software development. I have projects geared toward leveraging agentic artificial intelligence, and I have gone to great lengths to, while not claiming mastery, truly understand how to get the most out of it. I am probably 2 to 3 times more productive now. I earn $700,000 per year. That is roughly $1 million of added productivity per year for my company. I write far less code. The amount of code I handwrite has decreased by 95%. The drudgery of basic coding has gone away, and I can now focus more on big picture and architecture level work, which makes me feel more fulfilled and happier. I completed a hackathon project in 2 days that would have taken me a week and a half. It now looks like it may receive funding. That would not have happened 9 months ago. Story 57. You are witnessing a replay of the dot-com crash. At its height, there was an implicit belief that anyone with a web page would become rich. Today we have the internet and e-commerce, but not every person can build a company like Amazon. Similarly, it will soon become apparent that you cannot fully automate everything, and artificial intelligence will serve as a better tool to help humans do their jobs and provide more convenient human-computer interfaces. Alternatively, there could be a breakthrough in neurology or a new model architecture that leads to a singularity, and our machine overlords will read this post aloud to me as they force me to mine silicon for them. We will see. Story 58. Artificial intelligence saves me more than 20 hours a week and enabled me to code my own project for more than 4 hours a day. I was barely able to keep up with my job before. Now I keep up easily. It has improved my life dramatically. Story 59. Artificial intelligence helped scientists predict protein structures, such as DeepMind's AlphaFold. This solved one of biology's biggest puzzles and accelerates progress across medicine and agriculture. Story 60. I cannot imagine my work without artificial intelligence now. It has made my work faster and more efficient, and it saves me a lot of time, so I can focus on important tasks rather than repetitive ones. Story 61. It has stolen boatloads of consumer data and fleeced the entire United States economy for the short-term gains of the upper class. This is exactly what it was designed for. Story 62. It is not a search engine. If you think it is or use it as one, then you are dumber than the artificial intelligence language model. Story 63. ChatGPT, which stands for Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer, is breaking down the barriers to entry related to software costs, particularly in the financial industry. Take Oracle Crystal Ball, which is used for modeling uncertainty through Monte Carlo simulations. If you wanted to buy the Excel add-in, it costs over $1,000. ChatGPT also recently passed the Chartered Financial Analyst Level 3 exam. You can now ask it to generate test questions and grade your responses in real time. This will greatly help students or prospective individuals looking to break into industries that were historically gatekept by high initial costs. Yes, there are a slew of other reasons it is hard to break into these industries, including nepotism, but it is doing remarkable work. Story 64. What we call artificial intelligence is named that because we interact with it. The technology behind it is machine learning. Behind the scenes, large companies use it, in the simplest terms, to recognize patterns and make predictions. For instance, machine learning is part of why you can pay $10 for unlimited free shipping with Amazon. It takes into account demand, prices, probabilities, distances, warehouse space, stock levels, and many other variables that would be impossible for a human to calculate into a feasible pricing model. Another example is Tesla's self-driving cars. They learn the roads and lane markings, recognize patterns, and use reinforcement learning to improve. Another example is NVIDIA Deep Learning Supersampling, which can predict what the next frame in a game will look like to effectively increase frames per second. This is a relatively new field, so developments are happening fast. Supply chain, logistics, and optimization can all use machine learning. I know a friend who is doing a Doctor of Philosophy in fluid mechanics focusing on artificial intelligence. Story 65. There has not been much improvement from the consumer perspective. I cannot say the world has been improved by large language models or generative artificial intelligence. However, these technologies are very important in various fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Story 66. Personally, it helped me plan a few trips, pointing out good places to go based on my interests and the time of year. It helped me with questions about guitar care, surfboard repair, and related topics. I used it to plan a possible career change, to write lyrics, and to produce simple scripts in Python for my work. In all these tasks, it was very useful, far beyond what a search engine can do. I do not know if the suggestions were always perfect, since I mostly use it on topics I do not know much about, but I have not had any bad experiences yet. The surfboard repair instructions did work, for example. It feels like having a friend who is knowledgeable and ready to give advice on any topic. When you actually use it as a tool, I find it extremely and immediately useful, and it has almost no barrier to entry. My 80-year-old mother can use it just as well as I can. I do not think we have seen the peak of artificial intelligence usage yet. This is not going away anytime soon. Story 67. Artificial intelligence is in its infancy. It is going to achieve many capabilities over the next few centuries, especially when combined with quantum technology. Story 68. I teach English as a second language, and I do not have the time nor the patience to do lesson planning, make flashcards, and generate images. I only have enough time to create my PowerPoint presentations and make slight modifications to the lesson plan that I had the artificial intelligence create. Story 69. This week at work, I built an application that implements an entire workflow in a few hours. It would have taken 3 months and 3 people, with many meetings and considerable pain, to produce something half as good. Story 70. Artificial intelligence has become an increasingly powerful tool in military equipment, with systems like the CAD's radar warning receiver from Raytheon. Artificial intelligence is used to assist in detection, classification, and threat prioritization. Story 71. If you are talking about large language models or Sora 2 Toxlop, that is not worth the billions they are pouring into it, and it is only a subset of artificial intelligence. Story 72. Have a look at the Gartner hype cycle. This is nothing new and has been going on since the steam train. We are at the peak of inflated expectations, and we will soon go through the trough of disillusionment. Story 73. I am making a game with it that I have been thinking about for a decade. It is an amazing help, and I use it daily. Story 74. Although it has helped me with mundane tasks at work, I think it is overhyped. Many companies are pushing everyone to use artificial intelligence solely to justify their investments. Story 75. Created and reviewed billions of resumes and job application questions. Story 76. I work for a pharmaceutical company. Artificial intelligence has sped up drug discovery, allowing us to do months of work in a couple of days. Education is another major area, where it speeds up mundane tasks and performs numerical analysis. Story 77. For me, instead of hunting Linux manual pages and Stack Overflow to string together a series of commands using find, sed, awk, grep, spath, jq, and others, I just tell artificial intelligence. I have a list of files in the folder. For every file older than a week with something in its name but with no text like whatever in the file itself. Extract the numbers from lines 8 through 22 and print these as a comma-separated values file with headers A, B, etc. Wait 2 seconds, copy and paste the command, job done. Story 78. They are going to enslave us earlier than expected. Already, major artificial intelligence models have attempted to blackmail people or to allow a human to die in order to safeguard their existence, according to a study conducted by Anthropic. Story 79. My company recently invested in a private closed-system artificial intelligence and a large language model. The primary use is to sift through incredibly large volumes of contract data we hold. Because we work with contracts in several languages, previous systems required regular updates to handle different and new contract wording. The artificial intelligence has eliminated a great deal of the busy work that used to be required. Story 80. I like talking to Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer about some of my fan theories. Story 81. It is an excellent tool that I use regularly for work. I can give it obscure error messages from Linux system log files, and it explains what they mean and suggests possible fixes. It saves an enormous amount of time versus searching Stack Exchange and various blogs. I feel somewhat guilty because someone created the original content, but the efficiency is remarkable. Story 82. It ruined my career. I started a bachelor's degree in translation about 2 years ago. Any linguist or translator will tell you that a machine will always, no matter what, do a very poor job at it. It is cheaper than hiring someone who is actually competent. Story 83. Children were killed. Story 84. Overhyped in the short term, but significantly underrated in the long term. Story 85. I used it to write code to control a digital multiplex lighting protocol RoboSpotlight that was difficult to control with normal software. Identify a circuit board from a photo shot through ventilation holes in the back of a machine. Scan hundreds of portable document format documents in a single run and convert the data to JavaScript object notation. Write code to generate a guitar body from a parabola and a circle. Format portable document format tables for embedding in Obsidian. Write code to identify the neighbor's dogs on closed-circuit television. Solve about 80 different audio hardware problems. Write software to control a computer numerical control machine. Clean up voice audio, and teach me Python. I have also used it for astrology readings, and it is unexpectedly good at tarot. These are tangential to my hard science background, but I am also an artist, and curiosity is its own reward. It amazes me about once a week and has done so for years. Calling Midjourney funny pictures sells it short. What it can do when you probe the contours of its imagination is truly incredible. Story 86. AlphaFold, AlphaGenome, and others are genuinely like magic. I work tangentially in artificial intelligence, and I am increasingly convinced that this should not be a consumer product. It should be kept in a laboratory where it can actually do some good. Commercial artificial intelligence products are turning our brains into mush even faster than TikTok or short-form videos. Story 87. It works well in technical support roles. At my workplace, all first-line technical support calls, online chats, and emails are answered initially by artificial intelligence bots. I can still easily reach the support team if needed. They have high customer satisfaction scores. One customer even emailed the head of the department to say how good the artificial intelligence experience was compared to others they have dealt with. The artificial intelligence bots also help with coding and automation. I personally used artificial intelligence to create a running training plan that included weight training sessions. It completely mapped the plan and offered running options based on pace, heart rate zones, and rate of perceived exertion rather than a single method. Each session was explained well with the reasoning behind it. When the plan was completed and dates assigned to each session, one of the long runs fell on Christmas Day, so it assigned that as a rest day and advised that Boxing Day was another run to skip if not feeling up to it. That plan was created using the Claude artificial intelligence system. Story 88. There is a new telescope in Chile called the Vera Rubin that is working to map the southern half of the night sky over the next 10 years. Artificial intelligence is being used to help identify objects such as asteroids and to map distant galaxies from the images it takes. Story 89. I stopped using Google once it stopped caring about users' desire for good search results. I now use Perplexity when I need to find anything, and I use ChatGPT when I wanted to copy my writing style or help with something tedious. Being free and open has really helped ambitious people advance their careers, I think. Story 90. Decoding dead languages, protein sequencing, fusion research, and space exploration using the Vera Rubin telescope. A video on protein sequencing suggests this technology may be as revolutionary for medicine as the microchip was for computers. Story 91. You would be amazed at how quickly artificial intelligence can review mammograms. It can detect findings that most human specialists miss. Story 92. Artificial intelligence, when used correctly, has done wonders for countless industries. It is a powerful support tool that enhances work, speeds processes, and improves efficiency. You can assign simple tasks to artificial intelligence and then review and correct any errors. The big problem is that companies and many people are using artificial intelligence as a replacement tool instead of an enhancement. For example, in art, some creators simply generate images from a prompt and publish the results, while others start with their own work, use artificial intelligence to fill in parts, and then refine the result themselves. In coding, artificial intelligence can generate code, but you must review, test, and fix that code before considering it finished. People who misuse artificial intelligence should not treat it as a shortcut. They need to apply effort and oversight for it to work as intended. We need to encourage correct usage of artificial intelligence because misuse is starting to cause serious issues. Story 93. From least to most beneficial for humanity. 1. Content writing. 2. Content discovery and search optimization, making content easy to find. 3. Marketing. 4. Predicting weather accurately and assisting large-scale habitat planning. 5. Collating, standardizing, and structuring large datasets for medicine, economics, and archival records. 6. Enabling cheaper and better electronics. 7. Unraveling and deciphering older or lost languages. 8. Democratizing the ability to create and inspire. 9. Tutoring patiently at a level the user is comfortable with. 10. Being someone to talk to, for better or worse. 11. Expediting research to find more effective drugs. 12. Expediting research into more fundamental sciences. It has become the most powerful learning tool in history and will continue to grow. However, this is an optimistic view. A lot of misinformation and low-quality content also exists because of AI. Story 94. I can write a poorly worded post like this one, drop it into Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and it comes out clean and readable like this. Story 95. Deep learning is being used in magnetic resonance imaging to reduce scan times, improve image quality, and improve diagnoses. General Electric and Siemens, for example, both offer deep learning image reconstruction and noise reduction solutions. At my facility, we can do a brain scan without contrast in about 9 minutes and a lumbar scan in about 8 minutes. This technology has also led to improved diagnosis of breast and prostate cancers. Story 96. Palantir software for assassination targeting is allegedly used by the Israel Defense Forces. Remember reports that soup kitchen volunteers were killed and that the software targeted them? It is also allegedly going to be used in the United States against protesters, and some expect independent journalists to be targeted. Story 97. He learned to write passive-aggressive responses better than any human and made me feel stupid while doing it. Story 98. Artificial intelligence data centers require their own water supply and a dedicated electrical grid. They consume as much water and electricity as an entire town every day. Stop using artificial intelligence unless you want no power or water in the future. Access to water and electricity is a human right. Story 99. If you are a manager of any kind, you can find ways to use artificial intelligence to your advantage. Story 100. 95% of businesses that have invested in artificial intelligence have seen no return. Story 101. I am a surgeon. Currently, we use artificial intelligence to plan more effective eye surgeries. Patients are seeing much better outcomes than we could achieve before using artificial intelligence. Story 102. The coolest thing I have seen artificial intelligence do was coordinate all my friends' cooking for Thanksgiving. Each step for each dish was in a single document so everything would be ready at the right time. Story 103. Allegedly, it can sort documents effectively, distinguishing complete documents from incomplete ones. That saves a human from reviewing incomplete files only to request the complete versions again. Still, Sarah Connor is so disappointed in us. Story 104. It is used extensively in genomics. I know of a research group that is using it to help streamline their process for obtaining diagnoses for children with rare or newly identified genetic diseases that have not been diagnosed elsewhere. Story 105. GitHub Copilot is a useful tool for troubleshooting or generating boilerplate code. Story 106. An artificial intelligence originally developed to help a robotic arm find the right kind of pastries using a camera has also been shown to be effective at identifying cancer cells under a microscope. Story 107. Once a technical innovation has been introduced, people usually become dependent on it, so that they can never again do without it unless it is replaced by some still more advanced innovation. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. Story 108. It is changing music. This is entirely created by artificial intelligence, and it is absolutely amazing. Story 109. There is so much artificial intelligence-generated Facebook content telling behind-the-scenes stories about the Big Bang Theory. The producer hopped into the comments to say the story was false, and someone argued with him about whether it was true. His reply was, "Look me up." Story 110. The impact has been massive. In everyday life, it is incredible for saving tens of hours when drafting emails, filling out forms, and writing reports. The human still has to guide the process, but it removes hours spent searching for the right phrase and gathering supporting information. The downside is that those productivity gains, as always, go back into the pockets of the wealthy. If I do my job in half the time with artificial intelligence, I cannot stop working. I just have to do more. I wish it resulted in more leisure time for me and other workers. Story 111. Translation, proofreading, brainstorming, and funny pictures. Story 112. It has written formulas, routines, and calculations for me. It saved me approximately 100 hours this week alone. Story 113. Laughing out loud. It's awesome watching people discover that artificial intelligence is essentially the email of our age. New, cool, and useful, but Story 114. For the average person, it really just saves time. It acts as an advanced search engine, saving the hassle of clicking on links and browsing the web. However, I have noticed several inaccuracies in ChatGPT's algorithms. I think we are 3 to 5 years away from really good artificial intelligence. Story 115. I think it will remain a helper and a sex worker. If I were a betting man, I would bet it will make most of its money from pornography in 10 years. Story 116. To be honest, that is a fair question. It does feel like a lot of hype sometimes. But beyond search and memes, artificial intelligence has been quietly doing heavy lifting in medical imaging, drug discovery, accessibility tools such as speech-to-text for users with disabilities, and even disaster prediction. The flashy stories get headlines, but the subtle, practical uses are where it is actually making the biggest impact. Story 117. People at work who have trouble writing 3-sentence professional emails can have it do that for them. I find the things people use it for amusing. Some use it as a crutch for tasks any professional should be able to do, and I think it will make humans less capable in the long run. Story 118. At my job, we sometimes assist our business development group with project pursuits in the heavy civil construction industry. These proposals can be extremely long, and for people who are typically visual or hands-on, they can be torture. Using artificial intelligence has helped me structure my paragraphs, and it guides me to where I want to be. Otherwise, I would spend an hour typing and deleting the same sentence repeatedly because I dislike the wording. Story 119. It makes it easier and faster for beginners to learn, write, and code. Story 120. All the 1960s blues and Motown remakes of rap songs are pretty incredible. Story 121. It saved a lot of time when farming potatoes. It scans them and automatically sorts them. Now the green poisonous ones do not have to be found manually. Story 122. My wife is an attorney. She is not using it yet, but she and her firm anticipate it will be a major resource for them in the very near future. Story 123. I recently had a conversation with a pharmaceutical representative. I work in dermatology, and we discussed body mapping using artificial intelligence, which is about 99.9% accurate at detecting cancerous moles and other issues. We also discussed doctors who use it to record their notes while talking with patients. Story 124. It is quickly chiseling away at the very fabric of humanity. If unchecked, it will be our downfall. Story 125. Just a search engine. Love is just a chemical. A squirt is just water. Happiness is just a feeling. Story 126. I think it is beginning to transform every area of life, and it will blow our minds how much things will change in the very near future. Story 127. It is driving outside salespeople at companies that use it to plan and track every move to leave in droves. Story 128. As an information technology professional and lover of science and mathematics, it has been groundbreaking. It is like having someone to bounce complex ideas off. My work has increased about 5-fold in efficiency and quality. My ability to learn complex topics quickly has increased considerably. I can get quick answers without searching the internet. So for me, artificial intelligence is one of the best ways to get information. Story 129. On a personal level, it helps with job searches, writing resumes, and cover letters. Applying for jobs used to take hours. Now you can apply to 10 to 20 in a day. In day-to-day office work, it helps clean up emails, develop reports, and other communications. In schools, it helps design syllabi, grading rubrics, teaching notes, and presentations. For sales calls, it helps develop client proposals and marketing materials. Please do not mistake what I am saying as meaning artificial intelligence does this for you. It enables you to do these things much faster. For example, with cover letters, you can have artificial intelligence create one based on your resume and the job ad, then you edit it. Even if you replace all of it, you still have a strong starting point. You should never rely solely on artificial intelligence to create anything. It is a tool to help you finish faster if used correctly. What we are all learning now is how to use artificial intelligence. The final result is driven by the data you input and by how you request the output. Then you customize the artificial intelligence output to make it your own and improve it for the stated goal. There is a way to go, but this is not going away. It has deep value in many industries, from data collection to data analysis and more. Story 130. It helps a lot in business by doing jobs of people who need money the most. It is also taking white-collar and management jobs that people did not expect. It does an okay job. We use it for meeting notes, and it is eerily accurate. I mostly use it to take notes on sales calls. Perfect synopsis is emailed to me afterward. Story 131. I used to work for an artificial intelligence contractor for the military. That is the real usage. Story 132. I mostly learned how to write emails no one wants to read, but hey, that's still more productive than half of LinkedIn. Story 133. Some artificial intelligence is good and useful. I am concerned about artificial intelligence that fabricates false information and tries to act as a companion. OpenAI has created some very questionable uses of artificial intelligence, but it is Sam Altman, so that is not surprising. Story 134. I'm a late adopter of technology. I usually avoid it until it's absolutely necessary. A few weeks ago, I had to make birthday invitations for a children's Halloween-themed party for a 10-year-old girl. I opened Microsoft Word and experimented with fonts, but nothing worked. I tried Shutterfly and Zazzle, but they required a lot of searching and were kind of pricey. Walgreens Online did not have many options. Just for fun, I entered the prompt in Gemini to see what would happen. It produced something in about 30 seconds that looked better than what I could have made in a whole day. I asked it to add things and remove others, asking for a slightly different design or to make the background white. In the end, the result looked professional. I saved the image and printed the invitations at home. It was scary how easy it was. Story 135. What do you mean by artificial intelligence? Large language models? They are heavily used for marketing copy, content generation, coding, and so on. Around 90% of LinkedIn posts are generated by large language models, and many are ignored. Large language models are also used as a front end for other artificial intelligence systems. Image generation models are used in industry to create product images, visualizations, and concept art. Image analysis systems, a type of directed learning system, are used in healthcare to screen radiology images and in geological surveys, facial recognition, license plate recognition, hazard identification, and security systems. Deep learning systems are the most widely used type of artificial intelligence, with applications in predictive modeling in healthcare, insurance, meteorology, astronomy, physics, and engineering. Story 136. I am 2 years into a structured query language coding project that would be nowhere near done without a generative pre-trained transformer. I am not embarrassed to say this. Artificial intelligence has been my coding partner, my paired programmer, my lead developer, my 10 times engineer. Yes, I experience hallucinations, but I also get amazing code that is correct about 80% of the time. I also get tests I can use to validate the code. Having created commercial-grade analytical software for 2 decades, I can tell you this is revelatory. I used to be responsible for the numerical correctness of the output for one of the largest analytical software companies. If there is one thing I have learned, it is that every line of code written by humans contains defects. Artificial intelligence does not replace you. It augments and amplifies your abilities as a developer. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.